It's me, it's CGB. Hey you, it's CovertGo2, and today we are talking about Heliod, the Radiant Dawn, a one-card review from an upcoming rare from March of the Machines, coming to Magic Arena sometime in April. Heliod, the Radiant Dawn, got completed. They completed a god. Goodness gracious. They complete the Omnath jelly pile, and now gods. There's something about the idea of completing the gods of Theros that is straight up terrifying, and I think they did a good job capturing some of that oh crap in this type of card. But let's get into it. We're going to talk about whether or not this new card is playable for Standard, Historic, Brawl, and Commander. Those are the formats I focus on the most with my content, and we're just going to kind of cover it so that you know about this sweet card that will be on Arena in the near future. So Heliod, the Radiant Dawn, is 2 and a white legendary enchantment creature god at rare. This is a 4/4 creature. This card does not have indestructible. I think the first time I read this card, I just penciled in indestructible because Heliod. Haven't seen a Heliod without indestructible, I don't think. Anyway, not indestructible. Definitely worth noting. When Heliod the Radiant Dawn enters the battlefield, return target enchantment card that isn't a god from your graveyard to your hand. 3 and a Phyrexian blue. I love that they sneak the blue into the color identity with the Phyrexian blue here. Transform Heliod the Radiant Dawn and activate only as a sorcery. Now remember, you can pay your Phyrexian mana cost with life. You don't actually have to have a blue mana source to transform Heliod the Radiant Dawn. You can do it with 3 mana and 2 life at sorcery speed. The backside is Heliod, the Warped Eclipse. This is a legendary enchantment creature, Phyrexian god. This is a 4/6 bade, and you may cast spells as though they had flash. Spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each card your opponents have drawn this turn. And I love the I'm not usually Mr. Flavor Text Review, but I love it. Complete the faith, complete the god, complete the god, complete the plane. It's the Johnny's little Phyrexian blueprint for domination. So yeah, gods completed. What's to be excited about with this particular one, and where will it see play? Let's give it the quick standard review, shall we? First of all, you start off on this side. When looking at a standard card, the main thing that you have to look at is what it does on its own, not with any other mana invested into it. If I pay 4 mana for this, what do I get? Does it replace itself by drawing a card or getting some kind of card advantage? Does it affect the board? A 4 mana 4/4 affects the board to some extent. If it were indestructible, you'd feel a lot better about it, but it does say that returns target enchantment card that isn't a god from graveyard to hand. Do we have cool enchantments in Standard? You might have heard of some of these. Fable, Resto of Iganjo, Wedding Announcement. Doesn't send itself to the graveyard very much. In fact, none of these technically do, but all of these are cards that the opponent definitely wants to kill, so they end up in the graveyard. So that kind of thing is interesting. It will definitely be able to get something back in a number of matchups. Now, after that, a 4 mana 4/4 has a lot of trouble in the format right now. We looked at Thalia and the Gitrog monster. They have First Strike and Death Touch. Heliod's not going to rumble with that. Heliod's not going to rumble with Sheoldred. The 4 mana spot is full of a lot of juice, so right now the body doesn't look good. So transforming it has to do something cool. If we transform Heliod the Warped Eclipse in Standard, what do we get for that? How do we get the cost reduction better? A lot of decks are drawing cards anyway, but we could help them. I mean, Lauren of the Third Path is a card that we have in Standard. You and target opponent each draw a card, a way to get some benefit off that, to get a little bit of value. Sounds pretty fun to me. And then once we have a little bit of value, a card like Silver Scrutiny can really catch us up, where X is 3 or less and you draw X cards. You just kind of cast this on the cheap. We've seen this with Mind Splice Apparatus as a really fun way to play. The one that I'm kind of I hope this happens. This is a little bit magical Christmas land, and it's definitely better suited for formats like Commander, which I'll get to in a moment. But if you have Heliod on the backside, and it says spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each card your opponent has drawn, and even the score, Weird Mythic from Capenna, everybody forgets about, costs blue less to cast if your opponent has drawn 4 or more cards this turn. In theory, this could, if the opponent draws 4 cards in their turn, let's say that they trigger a Fable, you target them with a Lauren, and they have their draw step. You could play this without paying the blue and paying the X because of the backside of the Warped Eclipse for free. You could have a 0 mana draw 4. That's all I'm saying. 0 mana draw 4. Who doesn't want that? Is that not the coolest thing you've ever heard of? If the opponent goes absolutely bananas and casts their own like Silver Scrutiny powered by Mind Splice Apparatus, who knows how much you could draw? Doesn't it sound nice? Anyway, I know it's magical Christmas land, and to be honest, so is this card as far as standard goes. It just doesn't line up well enough for standard. It just isn't the type of card you want to be paying 4 mana for in that format. The transformation, investing the extra mana, doesn't, in my opinion, push the card over the edge. It just gives you a little bit on top of it, and if you're investing your mana in that, you're not doing it in something else that would probably be doing a lot more for you. So unless we get some enchantments, and this is the weird tension with Heliod the Radiant Dawn, unless we get enchantments that are like directed to go to the graveyard in this set, it seems very unlikely that this card will be a reliable card advantage, a body that is relevant enough, and a backside that does enough for standard. We need cards like the Seal, like Seal of Cleansing is a 1 and a white enchantment that sits on the battlefield, then you sack it whenever you want to destroy target artifact or enchantment, and then Heliod could come down and put that back in your hand because it sends itself to the graveyard. We just don't have enough of that to reliably keep Heliod as card advantage, and that's like the best thing it has going for it, honestly, is that you get a card when it enters the battlefield, and we can do better. We can and we will do better. But what Heliod is really designed for, I'm not sure about Historic Brawl. I honestly can't come up with a world where I want this in Historic Brawl either, to be clear. But I think that what this is designed for is Commander. Why would I say such a thing? Because Commander is a place where this particular ability, you may cast spells as though they had flash, is incredibly popular and cool, but it is hard to build around. A lot of decks run things to give you these abilities, like Leyline of Anticipation, like Yeva, Nature's Herald. Oddly, my first ever Commander deck was Yeva, Nature's Herald, and it was for budget reasons because I was broke. Don't judge me, but I still, even though I could only afford to play a basic mana base of forests and a whole bunch of green cards I had lying around, I still built Yeva because I wanted to do it at instant speed, and I surprised some people. I won a lot of games with Yeva. Yeva actually won a CEDH tournament last year. The deck, I mean, Flash is a powerful ability, and then when we get past the kind of like, here's our Flash cards, these are already popular, but where's the other one? Vodalkin Ori. I guess I accidentally closed that tab. But Vodalkin Ori is a card that like people put in their commander decks, sometimes tutor for, but they haven't done as much lately because it's really hard to justify spending 4 mana for a card in your deck that doesn't impact the battlefield the turn it enters the battlefield. Now going forward it's very good, but Commander is becoming a very, very fast format. However, if you can hide it in your command zone, have it attached to your commander, and also get some card advantage off it, well, now we start to get excited again about giving all our spells flash. So it's really cool that we have this Vodalkin Ori type effect in our command zone. And in Commander, you can get back some very powerful enchantments. How about Mystic Remora? Everybody loves a good taxing effect. Rhystic Study, one of the arguably the best cards in Commander. Smothering Tithe, another one of the best cards in Commander. Here's a whole bunch of enchantments. Now, if we're thinking of Heliod as the Commander, we need the blue-white color identity, but you could also put it in main decks and maybe tutor for it because it is a legendary creature, and especially in green decks, it's much easier to tutor it up. And then you could get some green enchantments involved too, like Aura Shards, which is absolutely devastating. Ghostly Prison, Propaganda. These still have the enchantment problem. They aren't designed to go to the graveyard, but they get destroyed in Commander a lot, and more as the format evolves, because more and more people are looking at Commander as a format where you have to be able to blow up artifacts and enchantments to play the game. So I think that Heliod, the Radiant Dawn, is going to be a very exciting Commander, even more so Heliod the Warped Eclipse. Blue-white color identity, flash for all your stuff in the command zone. It makes all of your enchantments and artifacts much more playable because you can hold open mana to counter things and then do things on end steps and really surprise your opponents. I like it for Commander. That's where I'll be playing it, but let me know in the comments what you think of Heliod the Radiant Dawn. Leave me a message. Thanks. You're cool.